I didn't feel any pressure. Don't worry. First of all, I know that Jerry Mulligan spoke to you all a couple months ago, and Jerry Mulligan is so Jerry Mulligan. Yeah, intelligent and amazing and has great stories. And frankly, I want you to know most of the stories he tells are not true. And many times he tells stories and I go, it's there, and that is not what happened. Whatever. He embellishes just a bit. It's like it starts and anyway. Um, I hate following Jerry. And that's where I am again, right? As publisher, I'm coming up behind Jerry Mulligan. That is a difficult act to follow, right? He's a great man. He's been a wonderful mentor to me. And by the way, I'm having lunch with him tomorrow, so we are still very close. And I regularly get to yell at him for giving me this terrible job, but somebody had to do it. I also dreaded the idea of being your Christmas party speaker. So I have to be intelligent, I have to be Jerry Mulligan, and I have to be fun. It's a lot, right? Because you don't want boring stuff that Jerry talked about, like dead presidents stuff. Like, no, not which one. So I'm here and I'm happy to speak to this group. I'm also happy to help out the League of Women Voters because they have been a great partner to us at the Chronicle. We have used their assistance, your assistance, through this election cycle, and we truly needed their partnership. Some of the things that the League did, you all, I'm sure, were very involved in, but just as a recap, they helped to develop the questions that we asked candidates at our forums. That's tricky, right? You have to ask the questions the right way. They need to be impartial. They need to be clear. They need to be concise. And the League did a wonderful job of helping us to come up with those questions. We run really fast. We're not always organized. And they helped us immensely during that time. They also helped with just some extra hands. We always need extra hands at the event. They were there for us. They helped us with explaining the amendments. Holy cow, these amendments that were recently on our ballot, very confusing for this group, and because I've seen your heads nod. And think about those of you that are not on the League of Women Voters, right? You don't necessarily know what the amendment means. What does a yes or no vote mean? It's deep. So they helped us to explain that. They wrote columns, they wrote letters, you name it. The League was fantastic. So I thank you all for your involvement and helping the Chronicle and this community get through a very important election season. We had a very important primary election, as you know. It required our voters to be educated, and they needed to take the time to really pay attention to what's going on in the community. They did that during our primary. Our general election, they also did a fantastic job. So I appreciate your assistance and the Chronicle's involvement to make those things happen. I have to keep myself on track. So during July and November, during this election season, the Chronicle published many voters' guides. We had a special section on our site to house all of that information. If you needed to find a candidate, you could pretty well look any day and say, candidate Joe is here. I can meet him. I can go over and find more information. We also housed lots of videos of our candidates, Q&As, written and verbal. We had just a ton of information on elections. So you could go to our site and find all of that. Our editorial board interviewed every candidate. We sat with every candidate for about 45 minutes to an hour, one-on-one with my editorial board and that candidate. That can be a little bit nerve-wracking. Our editorial board is made up of 9 members, and they have some really great questions. Our intention was to find out who's really the best candidate for each race. And then we put out our recommendations for each race. And that was a very time-consuming project. It's amazing to me how long we took to go through every one of those candidates, but it was important. Also, we held 3 in-person forums. So one in July was very large. That was with the primary election. We also did one for each city, and we did a digital forum. So people could go online and watch a video that was recorded live with questions that went to candidates that they had to answer right on the spot. I don't think that if you went to our website, you could say you weren't informed. I don't think that if you could say if you read our newspaper, you wouldn't feel informed. I think we provided an awful lot of information. And again, the league helped us to be able to pull that off. Thousands of voters went to our site, watched our videos, and read our content. Our intention was we needed to have great voter turnout. We needed to have great educated voters to make those good decisions. And you guys did a wonderful job as a community. 83% voter turnout for the general election. Wow. Mo Baird was in shock. She said that is one of the best turnout rates that we've had for a local election in a very long time. So good job. Good job for all of you. Good job for all that you do in the community to make sure that our voters are registered and informed of all that information. So good for all of us, right? During this election, we really needed the community to speak up and take some action, and they really did. And I'm pleased with how that turned out. The Chronicle for 130 years. Do you know Chronicle's been around for 130 years? 130 years. That's crazy. We've been providing elections information for that long. We've also been providing stories about your neighbor, who is so important that the community knows about your neighbor. We're putting in stories about great people in our community that do good things in their work every day that we need. We're writing stories about people that are in need. We've recently had some pretty devastating storms and floods in our community, and the community came together and they made some good things happen. Without the Chronicle being the vehicle to help provide that information, it would be hard to know, right? If you live on the east side of the county, some people had no idea what happened on the west side of our community. So be able to share that is one of the roles that the Chronicle provides. Our industry has changed. I don't think I'm telling you anything you don't know. The newspaper industry has changed. Paper has changed. That's one thing that's changed. People are reading content differently. They're getting their news differently and in different places. They care about things differently than they ever did. For a media company, our role is to make sure that we're providing the news that people want and need in the way that they want to receive it. That's a moving target. And I will tell you, in the last 2 decades, it has changed drastically. Fewer people want that printed product and more people want a digital product. I know that that isn't always the case. And trust me, I've talked to a lot of people who really like their printed product. I get that. I absolutely do. So we're going to continue to do that, but we also have to be able to evolve with what people want. So because of that, we have a much stronger digital presence than we've ever had. You can go onto our website. We were just talking about it over lunch. You can go onto our website right now and have new content that was just uploaded 10 minutes ago of things that might have happened in our community that you need to know. That website is updated 24/7. So you can go there, find out what's happened. You could also read a digital replica of your newspaper. So if it didn't show up with your mail, or your mailman's running late today, or whatever the case may be, you can read a digital replica of our newspaper online any time of the day. It's typically up about 4 a.m. So you can find it that way. That has caused some of you to be upset with me. My phone rang off the hook for about 2 weeks. I know. We have to continue to do what we're doing in the best way possible. If we don't evolve, we go out of business. And I hope that you all agree when you hear me say it's important that we have a community newspaper to provide community news. I would love to be able to have it on your front doorstep at 6 a.m. I can't financially do that anymore. And you all don't want to pay that kind of rate. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. But we are evolving and we're providing content to you in ways that maybe we've never done before. Sorry, get my space here. So we've made some changes and we're going to continue to make some changes. In 2025, here are some things that we have to look forward to. Interactive puzzles. That sounds pretty interesting, right? You can go to our website. You could actually do it today because it's up and running. We just haven't really promoted it much. You could go on our website and spend your entire day on a tablet or at your desktop and do puzzles until you fall asleep. Literally, it goes on, and it's any type of puzzle. So you like this kind over that kind, it's there. So interactive puzzles, It's there. It is always there. We're also in the final stages of developing a mobile app. So you have your smartphone, you can go to the Play Store or the App Store and download a mobile app for the Chronicle. It's not up yet. We are in the last moments of doing that. Another way that you can receive your news. We are updating our website. Always important to have a nice, good looking website so you can find things well. It's going to have an overhaul in probably the next couple months or so, and you will like the looks of it. Trust me. At first you'll go, oh, you moved my things. I know. I hear that too. When I move things, I hear that. We get used to the new way pretty quickly because we're all pretty smart. We can pull that off. So that will change very quickly. Most recent and interesting thing that we're doing is called connected TV. So you have smart TVs in your homes. Some of you have cut the cord. My mother, my 78-year-old mother, decided she didn't want to spend all that money on Spectrum anymore, so she cut the cord. So now you have a Roku, you have a Fire Stick, you have Apple TV. Those are all connected TV apps. You could go down in through that search for Citrus County or Chronicle Media TV, and you can find streaming videos that accompany news stories that we're putting out regularly. So you could just watch a news story as opposed to read. Sadly, people don't want to be bothered to read anymore either, but so you can watch a video, and that will be another way of video storytelling that you could find your news without holding a newspaper or reading the words. So I hope you see what I'm saying in that we're trying to do different things to get the news out. What bothers me, what's concerning to me, and I hope it's concerning to you, is that we probably all know people who know national political news like the back of their hand. They know everything that Trump did today and what he's going to do tomorrow, but they don't know that that big mound of dirt that was being moved around in Lecanto was eventually going to be a target. They don't know the things necessarily, and I'm talking in general terms here, but I think we all know those people, that they aren't paying attention to what's happening locally, but they're very in tune with national politics. And that's incredibly important. It is. But it's also really important to know what's going on right here and what are our community needs and what is good and what is worrying us and what's really happening. So there are more and more people who aren't tuned in locally. And I hope that you, if you know those people, we talked about it just at lunch too. We hit all the topics of my speech, by the way, and I didn't bring it up. I hope that you tell those folks that it's important to be tuned into national news. It is. It's also really important. Be engaged, be involved, and know what's happening locally so that they can take a part and be involved in making whatever has to happen. Fewer people are reading their community newspaper, whether it's print or online. Fewer people are subscribing. That is a problem. And that's where Trina becomes a bummer for like 3 minutes. Give me 3 minutes to be a bummer. It is a problem because since 2005, 1/3 of the community newspapers in our country have gone out of business. A third. It causes what's left is a news desert. There's no way for news to get out to a community when you don't have a local community newspaper. So there's no one to hold your public officials accountable. There's no one to say what the needs are of our flood victims in our community. There's no one to say what are the resources that those flood victims need. There's no one to say, Joe's a great guy, and here's a story about Joe, your neighbor. No one here is here to be able to say that, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to make sure that you have a community newspaper for another 130 years, because without us, it would be a sad day. Freedom of the press is very important to any community. For Rosemary to be able to write a column and put it in her community newspaper, that's huge. And I hope that we all take that really seriously. Okay, wow, I'm done. I'm done talking bad news. Here's the good news. Here's how you can help. I want you to be a subscriber. I want you to encourage your friends to be a subscriber. If you're upset about something, call me. My phone number and my name is in the paper every day. Also on our website. Email me, call me. I don't care. I want to try to fix it. but we need to subscribe and support our local community newspaper because it is that important. So I would love your assistance in making sure that we move into the future together. All right, so here's the fun stuff. Here's where I'm going to turn from being a bummer to now being fun. We're going to talk about what's great about Citrus County. And I bet you in this room, you could give me 20,000 reasons why Citrus County is great. I've got a list of just 5, and then I'll stop talking and you could go have some more fun and not listen to me talk. So we're going to talk about 5 things in no particular order. Number 1 that I think is the most important thing about Citrus County is our beauty, the beauty of this community. If you've lived here a long time, and I know that I don't look a minute over 35, but I have lived in Citrus County for about 40 years now. I moved here from St. Petersburg, so I'm a native Floridian, but I have watched this community go from a little cowpoke town to what it is today. It has changed drastically. But what hasn't changed is that we have beautiful sites in our community, and we are somewhat spoiled and probably a little blind to just what we have. My husband recently took a sunset photo, and I looked at it and I was like, that is amazing. Where was that? Oh, right down the road. I probably drove past and didn't even look at that sunset. We need to remember that our community is beautiful. We have lakes, we have rivers, we have the Gulf, we have springs, we have wildlife. I have deer in my backyard. And where else can you say that? Here, right here. We have beautiful trails that you can walk on, forests that will hopefully always be a forest, right? So beauty in Citrus County is huge. Second thing that I think is great is that we have a thriving, great economy here. People want to live in Citrus County. They're moving here by the hundreds. We have to protect our beauty, but we also need to remember that it's great to be in a community with a good, strong economy. If you want to open your own little boutique, if you want to open your own little restaurant, you can do that here in Citrus County. And that's a beautiful thing that people can come here and do what they want to do and be an entrepreneur and be successful. It's a good thing. We have a great quality of life. You can walk on those trails. You can feel safe. You can go to the library. You can sit by the lake. You can do a lot of great things. You can kayak. Quality of life here is unbelievable. You could be at work all day and then go home and take your kayak out and tool around the springs. Can you do that? There are other places, but our quality of life here is unbelievable. Really, really a great place to live. We have amazing people. We're on number 4. See, we're almost done. Well, number 4, we have great people in Citrus County. And as I was sitting the other day thinking about some great people, let me just ramble some names to you. Melissa Walker with the Key Center. She's a Citrus High School graduate. Went to school with her. Good girl. And without her, the Key Center would really struggle. She does great things every day. Melissa Walker. Leon McClellan, M&B Dairy. Leon is one of those guys and his dad who run that dairy, and they give constantly. Any organization that needs help, anybody that wants to raise money, he has been all in to support Andy Lahara. Him and his family have made so many donations so that a ton of money, I should have looked it up, a lot of money have gone to Andy Lahara and his family for his support. And Leon does that all day long without batting an eye. Another great person, Jimmy from Seafood Cellar. You guys know Jimmy. He's a grumbly dude. Great guy. Does great things. Somebody needs something. Jimmy goes, here, I'll give you 10,000 more. Whatever you need, I'll give it to you. Jimmy is great. Melissa Bowermaster. She runs Jesse's Place. She handles some really difficult situations. She is a precious individual. George Smallstead, who runs United Way. I don't think George had a day off after that flood I don't know. I still don't know if he's had a day off. He has worked really hard to make sure that our flood victims and people that were damaged by the storms got good support. Money, hands, manpower, whatever they needed, George was there for them. And the last person I came up with, and again, this is a random list. I could have made 20 more lists here. Marsha Beasley. If you've been to Floral City and you know Marsha Beasley, she exudes history in Floral City. She can tell you everything that's ever happened in Floral City. She's a precious woman. And this community is a great place because of just, as I said, I think that's 5 people that I liked, but I'm telling you, there's a million more. I could be here all day just giving you names. If you want to know more names, pick up our recent Discover publication. We put out an annual publication, nice and thick, and there it is loaded with great Citrus County people and a little story about what each one of them does. And again, we could have done 4 editions of that publication, but just a great example of great people come to Citrus County. They put down their roots and they get involved. And I love that. Last thing that I think is important about Citrus County is that we have a strong sense of community. We come together, we care, we take care of our people. When someone needs something, we help them. You come together and you guys are happy and fun. I'm like, my gosh, sometimes I go to groups and they're sad and you're happy and fun. I love that. So we help each other. We have a good, strong sense of community. During our recent elections, and I won't say any names, but I will just give you the idea. During our recent elections, I went to a celebration party for someone who I knew was going to win. I showed up, and I'm not supposed to because I'm not supposed to be partial. But you know what? When you live here long enough and you talk to these people, you know what's right for our community. I went to that celebration and it was like the biggest warm hug you could ever ask for because everyone was so excited that our voters showed up and they did something wonderful that needed to be done. And they were all there and everybody's high-fiving and hugging. And that sense of community that we have here is amazing. And I'm so proud of Citrus County because this is where I grew up. This is where I raised my children. And I am hopeful that my children will raise their children here as well, because this is a great place to be. And I know you guys know that as well. So my message to you, sorry, it's okay, right in your face. My message to you is that we continue to grow that bond in our community. We continue to be involved with each other. We continue to help each other. And I hope that our 2025 is as sparkling as 2024 was. And I hope that we all continue to prosper and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Yeah. They wanted me to answer a few questions, so Rosemary has one ready, but I bet you she'll let you go first. If anybody has any questions, you want to yell at me, go ahead. I'm really free, thick skin. Bring it. Yes.
Did Jerry Mulligan really have a loss go up his nose?
I don't think so. I saw him like 2 days after. I would expect his face to be really large. I think probably a wasp went by his nose. And somehow it went up and then it had a party and then I mean that story went on and on. So I don't think that I'm not gonna call Jerry a liar because maybe it happened, but I'm not buying it. Yeah. Yep.
So I recently the paper in the mail to my computer. I find I don't read the computer. I can't. Oh, I'll get something.
Yeah.
Do it. So I think we can touch those.
It is a habit. It's a change of habit, and that is a challenge. I'm changing my own habit of how I read. It is different, and I think people that are most successful with changing their habit tell me that they have a tablet and they bring that tablet because it's a little larger, so it's a little easier to read. They put the tablet at their breakfast table and they read that way. I wish I had a better solution, but that does seem to help. People like to read the e-edition because it is more a replica of a newspaper, so you could flip the page, and that is easier to do on a tablet as opposed to going to the computer and sitting at the desk. I hear you. Yes.
I just want you to know, I love reading the newspaper on my computer. There's plenty of light and I can see it a lot better than in print.
You can enlarge it as much as you like. Yes, there are certainly perks to that for sure. Yes.
We've been subscribers forever. I get the newspaper. I get the
Trina,
news.
would you repeat the question?
Okay. We get the newspaper in the mail, but I also get it every morning.
Mhm.
And I read it at morning and breakfast on my tablet. I take the mail when it comes, the paper copy, and throw it away. Is there a way to tell you to stop mailing me that copy?
Yes. So yes, a lot of people have done that because they've changed their habit. Now they're not reading the printed product. Certainly, we can turn you to a digital only subscription. You can either call us, our phone number's in the paper every day, or if you catch me and I write it down,
Okay,
I could take care of that. But a digital only subscription is even more inexpensive than your printed version. So it's great. And if you're reading it that way, wonderful. That's
Okay.
great. Other questions? Yes.
The snakes really go after Derek.
Snakes go after deer. Now that really happened. The snake bite is a real story. Of course, there's a lot of embellishing that goes around it because the snake told him something and called him a jerk, and I don't remember all that, but yeah. What's that?
Should the snake die?
I don't, did the snake die? I'm not sure if the snake died. I don't know. I don't know that answer. I was there. Yeah, Jerry was actually really hurt by that. But the story gets better and better over the years. And then, the snake talks to him and then he brings his friends, the snake friends all chase Jerry wherever he goes. I'm telling you, Jerry is a storyteller for, so yes, the snake did really bite him, but not the same way. Yes, I'm
Great one.
how is the Chronicle going to get along with our new sheriff? Well, we have already spent a good amount of time with Dave building good foundations, right? Because I have a job to do. Dave has a job to do. I absolutely respect the job that Dave has to do. And I respect the parameters that go around what he can share and what he can't, and how content will get to us. Myself, my editor, and Dave have met several times now in preparation so that we have a good foundation, so that we can have those conversations. We recognize that there will be days that Dave will be mad at me, and there will be days that I will be mad at Dave. But in the end, I absolutely respect the work that he has to do, and I think we'll make it work. I very much am positive that we can work together in a partnership together with the sheriff. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
What's your? Compared to my. The other article that. Which
Yeah, there's a lot. So in case you didn't hear, he likes sound off and he likes the letters. He's concerned because he's not seeing as many letters and he thinks that they're being shortchanged. Sadly, fewer people are sending letters. We try to run all of them. Every letter that comes to us, we run. Now, we do have some parameters that we have to work in. We don't want anyone to put themselves in a liability situation. If you say something about someone else, you could be held liable. I could be held liable. So there are some parameters that we cannot run letters. Most of the time, though, I want those letters in the paper. It is that we're getting fewer of them. And I think that goes back to more engagement and involvement. And I think that fewer people are engaged and involved in local news. And I want more of that. So absolutely encourage everyone to send your letters and your sound offs to us. We will run them. We have plenty of space for it. Absolutely. Other questions? All right, Rosemary's question.
Question. At our November meeting, many of the people in this room participated in that meeting and said, we want more local involvement. This is our chance. Make sure that you get the Chronicle, give it as a gift maybe, because community involvement begins with knowing what's going on in the community. So cheers to the Chronicle. I'm a big fan. But the other things that I did want to ask is, did you get into publishing? So that's a long story. So, yeah, about how a young woman with a life of her own still does that.
So I was about 22 years old and I needed a job. And somebody told me, we'll get a job at Florida Power because they pay really well. Now, Florida Power is what Duke Energy was called many, many years ago. So at the age of 22, I applied for a job at Florida Power. In the meantime, a friend of mine said, work at the Chronicle. Yeah, you could work here for a little while. Florida Power will call and you could always take that job. About 2 years into my job at the Chronicle as selling media, I realized that Florida Power was not going to call them. And while I was sad, I realized that I kind of like this business. Now I was in the marketing side of our business. At that time, I didn't like the idea of selling. I don't want to sell somebody something. That doesn't seem like fun. But what I figured out is that this marketing job at the Chronicle really was helping businesses to keep their business afloat, helping them to market themselves. It really was kind of cool. I continued. I kept thinking maybe Florida Power was going to call. They never did. I kept moving up in the ranks of the newspaper. I moved into the operations side of our business. So I started learning more about the other areas, departments of our newspaper, the distribution, the printing, all of the details that go along with it. And the more I moved into it, the more I thought, I don't even want Florida Power to call anymore. I'm done. So it happened by, it was a godsend. God put me in this spot and, I learned to love it very much. And then as I got to know Jerry Mulligan and, he's been a father figure to me. I lost my father when I was about 19 years old. And about that time, I moved into, working at the Chronicle and getting closer to Jerry as my mentor. And he has been a father figure to me my whole 34 years at the Chronicle. So really, it became a family. It became something I loved. It became something that I knew was critically important to this community. And when Jerry said to me, I want you to take the reins, I'm ready to retire, I was pretty confident that there had to be somebody else more qualified, but he was convinced that it was me. So here I am. So it was not I always wanted to publish my stories. No, none of that. Nothing. No, I just found that it's a great calling and I don't know how I got here, but here I am. So that's my story. It's pretty silly, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. So, we have another question.
Okay, I'm a retired teacher, and when I was teaching in the county, I got the newspaper every Wednesday, 23 copies for my first school students.
Yep.
I got them into the news. They knew the news before in and out. The first time we looked at it, they had black streaks all over the place. But towards the end, they knew what was in the newspaper and how the news and so forth. If the paper product is gone, is there any digital way that you can provide it to teachers for free? I was one of very few teachers that took advantage of that because they were free.
Yeah.
Right now, and that bundle came every Wednesday to my students. But is there, because if we're going to educate, let's start
there. So her question is, being a retired school teacher, we have a program called Newspapers in Education, and we provide newspapers to the schools, to any teacher who wants it. And she provided that to her kids and found that, the kids really got engaged and involved in the newspaper. Of course, that's our intention. You want to start young and help them to understand the importance of being involved in their newspaper and knowing the news. And her question was, can we provide a digital option? And we do. We provide a digital option to the schools. We have a login that is available to any school, to any teacher who wants to make that part of their curriculum. And a lot of our teachers do that. Unfortunately, not as many as I would like. I would like more to take advantage of that, but that is important to start them young, help them to understand the importance of news, and to help kids to understand the relevance of news and the validity of news. Because if you ask our teenage 20-somethings, they will tell you that most of their news comes from YouTube and Facebook. Now, that's okay because the Chronicle is on Facebook, the Chronicle is on YouTube. We're a reliable source. Do the kids understand the difference between a reliable source or their friend who's decided to write a column about who knows what, and that now is posted on Facebook, and now they have to try to struggle between, is that valid information or is that something that somebody just made up? So that's really important in our schools, and we are continuing to push that. So it's great question. Newspapers and education, very important. Yes. Yes.
It's kind of fun.
It's funny, we were just talking about that in my leadership meeting on Tuesday. Yeah, just yesterday. We used to post on Facebook the question of the day. Nancy Kennedy, if you know Nancy, is a delight, and she would put a question of the day. And sometimes they're very important, and some days it's, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? And people would comment on all of their answers. And so what we've talked about is bringing that back and then publishing the results. So having that in the paper that we had a great question of what's your flavor of ice cream preference, and we'll do more important things, but that's the first one that came to my brain. And the results are, 28% of people prefer chocolate and 42% like vanilla. And that's interesting because people do like to answer the polls and they like to see the results of polls. So we just talked about doing that, and yes, we'll get that started. Great idea. All right, any other questions? I am done. Thank you all. I appreciate it.